So odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Who are we and who's responsible for what we've become? America is us, and we're responsible for what we've become. If we answer in any other way, we're content to have others define us, even others who have proven to us that they can't be trusted. A young teacher recently asked me, what did I think she could do to advance the cause of people who think like us? I told her that the greatest gift my teachers had given me was the ability to think. Teaching our young people how to think is the greatest gift our teachers can give, for it's the independent thinkers who will save our country. So my hat's off to the professors at Simona State for even conceiving such a program, and to the university for being committed to it. Project Censored ensures that our country will have a cadre of young people trained to think. And for those of us who care enough about our country to find out what's going on, Project Censored makes it easier for us to know so that we can make for our country a better tomorrow. Thank you to the journalists for writing the stories that you've written. Thank you for inviting me to participate. And thank you, 7 Stories. Thank you.
It was amazing meeting you. You say you saw my video, Road to Tyranny?
I saw your video. It's absolutely wonderful. And what's so good about it and irrefutable about it is that you use original footage. And what through my experience with working with COINTELPRO and the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I can tell you that the one thing that they don't want in the hands of the people is the original footage, because then people like you can go back and dissect exactly what happened, exactly what was said, exactly who said it, and at what time they said it. And that's exactly what you did. And so the credibility that you give to your argument by using their own words and their own timeline is phenomenal. So you did all of us a tremendous service by giving us the documentation that you did.
Well, we're talking to Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, and I'm not just saying this on the radio. I've said it many times. You're one of the few people that had a wide range of understanding in legislation, and you spoke out about so many issues. Whenever it was about freedom or liberty, wasn't a Republican or Democrat issue.
No, not
you stood
at all.
up, which is why the establishment obviously targeted you among just only a handful of others in the last decade. They had to get out of there. What would you say to others out there about getting involved and making a difference?
Well, there's one thing that's for sure. If you don't get involved, you'll never make a difference. But by getting involved, I believe we still can make a difference. Now is not the time for us to give up on our political system. We're here in California. On October 7th, there is going to be a result. Now, there can be some people who choose not to suit up that day, choose not to participate in the game that'll be played, but they'll have to live under whatever the regime is that comes to power on October 7th. In 2004, in November, there's going to be an election and there's going to be an outcome. Now, for people who want to say, well, we don't have confidence in the system, we don't have confidence that our votes are going to be counted, that's all the more reason to participate more heavily
and investigate.
In fact,
absolutely. Before the camera was on, I was talking about Diebold and these companies, and they found them bragging that we'll deliver votes to Bush and we're going to manipulate things. This has been actually in different regional newspapers. It's coming out, but the average person isn't aware. You were telling me about a Tennessee case of some election fraud.
A Tennessee case that was mentioned to me by Judge Joe Brown, who's on television now, television judge. But there was a case in Tennessee where the tabulation software added illegally a quarter of a vote to the favored candidate for every one vote that the unfavored candidate received. Now, that was flat out wrong, but because this particular unfavored candidate had Judge Joe Brown on his side, they were able to sue and find out exactly what happened. So we understand that these manipulations are going to take place.
So they're even computerizing the paper ballots already, what you're saying?
This was prior to the touchscreen. And so you're absolutely right. This is with the paper ballot.
That is scary. And now they want to get rid of even the paper ballot so there's no record. That sounds perfect for George Bush.
Well, George Bush isn't the only person we have to fear. It's the system itself, and those who feed at the public trough, they are the ones that we now have to fear. And that knows no party, knows no color, knows no class. I mean, the only thing that's going to save us are people like you, the activists who are here, the independent journalists who are willing to search for the truth and take it to the American people no matter where it ends.
Congresswoman, that's just amazing. I read your full press release and quote about 9/11 on my radio show. And I have a conservative and a liberal audience. It's just Americans. All you said is we have bus accidents or train wrecks and we have investigations, but there shouldn't be one about the biggest terrorist attack in U.S. history. And then the media didn't take your quotes, they just attacked you on lies.
Yes.
And I've never seen such a demonization campaign. Then I saw the polls, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution was going your way, and they pulled it. Can you talk about both those issues?
How trained professional journalists can get a story so wrong is a mystery to me. And so I have to believe that they got it wrong, not by accident, but because there was a desire to get the story wrong, that demonization that you were talking about. And it was interesting that when the Atlanta Constitution put the people poll up on the internet, and people agreed with my position, you're absolutely right. They yanked it, they stopped it, they yanked it from the internet and said, okay, the poll is over. So we understand that there are a lot of people out there in America's heartland who think just like we do, who have seen the outrageous behavior starting with the Florida election and then declining from there of this administration, and understand intuitively that something is wrong. They may not understand exactly what, but they know that something is wrong. We're on the wrong track. And of course, only these recent revelations about the lies, basically, the deceptions that put our young men and women in harm's way in Iraq, and they're stationed all over the globe, and they're getting sick. And
for Dick Cheney's bank account.
Well, Dick Cheney isn't the only one who's making a whole lot of money. You've got DynCorp that's got a sole source contract to provide vaccines for the Pentagon, and DynCorp is the corporation whose employees were over in Bosnia and Middle Europe buying and selling little girls. So why should they be rewarded with a contract to provide vaccines to our young men and women who are soldiers, and now our soldiers are getting sick with this mystery illness and we don't know why?
Folks, you can see why they are afraid of Cynthia McKinney, and no matter what party you're in, you need to get behind people like her.
It is my great honor to present several awards this evening to 4 outstanding writers for their hard work and who continue to shed light on an otherwise dark media. Story number 2, Homeland Security Threatens Civil Liberties, was first brought to our attention by Alex Jones, originally featured on Infowars.com, Rents.com, and Global Outlook Volume 4. Also, Frank Morales, published in Global Outlook, Winter 2003.
I want to thank Project Censored. I had read several volumes over the years and gotten a lot of great guests from our syndicated radio show, and for what we do at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And one of the last speakers talked about, it's not George Bush, it's not Dick Cheney. They are. They're errand boys, they're puppets for the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about. And let me tell you something. These people have said, Rand Corporation and others have said, the entire economy will be prisons, police in black ski masks, a Nazi Germany-like nightmare. It makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up to talk about it, to read what's in Patriot Act 1 and 2, to see what Homeland Security does, Victory Act 1 and 2. We have got to get the word out now. We have got to warn everybody, because this military-industrial complex and their PNAC and their NORTHCOM plans state that they will carry out the terror, that they will engineer the crises so they can offer their solution.